When I go on vacation for 30 days, I take 30 watches with me.
Hi everyone. The moment Shannon Sharpe started carefully examining Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s financial situation, the entire mood seemed to change. What once appeared to be an untouchable, larger-than-life image of endless wealth suddenly didn't feel quite as unshakable. For years, Floyd built more than just a fortune, he created the perception of limitless riches and influence. Private jets, high-end watches, and piles of cash were displayed almost like movie props. But behind that polished image, one question continues growing louder. Is Floyd really as financially untouchable as he insists, or has his business empire quietly slipped into survival mode? And if the king of cash is still accepting exhibition fights at this point in his career, is it truly about preserving his legacy, or is there a much deeper reason?
He's in financial straits. You know, he was very flamboyant and flashy with a lot of his money, and it almost seemed like impossible, even if he lost a lot of it. How can he actually go broke? Well, I know he lost $8 million on a house in Vegas, $54 million in loans. Another house of his just got foreclosed on. What? He sold his plane. Logan Paul says he owes him like $1.2 million. He also owes Dubai royalty money. He's underwater with the IRS. He's not going to garner a lot of sympathy from people because of the way he acted and the way he carried himself. But it's wild to think when you make that much money.
For years, many people believed the money nickname would last forever, as if it came with a lifetime guarantee that could never expire or lose its meaning. Now, however, the situation feels noticeably different, almost as though something has quietly reached its breaking point. What makes everything feel more unsettling is not only the rumors themselves but the repeating pattern behind them. The same conversations continue surfacing across podcasts, locker rooms, and interviews. The people may be different, yet the message remains remarkably similar. And for the first time, these voices no longer seem like they're simply looking for a reason to criticize him. Instead, they sound like people who are beginning to recognize small cracks in the image that once appeared completely untouchable.
When it comes to Floyd Mayweather, I told you he was broke. Y'all got so mad at me because it's like, how could somebody actually broke talk about a man who's broke and he got more money than you? Look at all those fake Birkins he buys his girlfriends. Well, listen, here's the thing. Now, I told you them Birkins was fake. First of all, you cannot go buy 20 Birkins at once that are all the same size. You do know that, right? I couldn't even say the name at first. Remember I used to call it a Herms bag? And then they started picking at me and I was like, it's Herms. Because I'm just not into buying things to be noticed.
If we're being fair, the image Floyd created always seemed completely unbreakable. It was never just about having money. It was equally about control, dominance, and projecting absolute power. He wanted everyone to see him as more than simply rich, he wanted to appear untouchable. The kind of person who could spend enormous sums without hesitation and still have enough wealth to purchase the very building he was standing inside. Every social media post, every public appearance, and every showcase of luxury reinforced that exact message. But now, more people are beginning to view that image from a different perspective. And as they take a closer look, they start distinguishing what is genuinely real from what may have only been part of the carefully crafted performance.
That Mayweather's broke right now. His spending has gotten so out of control that this is why he's coming back and again.
Oh, absolutely. But I've been knowing that.
Oh, you've known that?
Of course.
Explain.
Of course. Huh?
Explain.
Well, I mean, even in all those expeditions that he's been doing, Floyd was doing shows for $26,000. You know, when Floyd fought Shane Mosley, I called Floyd and I was like, one of the casinos want to give you $150,000 for a 15-minute walkthrough. And they said they'll give me $30,000 to walk through with you.
Then the conversation began gaining momentum, as quiet whispers gradually turned into open public discussions. People started suggesting that his spending habits may have reached a point where even massive earnings would become difficult to maintain. Some believe the exhibition fights taking place today are no longer simply personal choices, but have become something much more necessary. The same man who once walked away from easy money opportunities without hesitation is now regularly appearing in exhibition events across the world. That difference is exactly what causes people to pause and think. Because when someone's behavior begins to change, it often points to the possibility that something behind the scenes has changed as well.
Do a deal with me. But if someone going out there putting lies on my name, putting lies on me and my team and my family and hurting my business, we're not talking about millions. We're talking about billions of dollars. We can't do that. So this is my first time ever filing a lawsuit against a media company for speaking bad about my company. I'm not a liar. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a liar. I worked hard to build my name, to build my reputation, and I'm not gonna let anyone go out there and smear my name and talk bad about me, talk bad about my family, or talk bad about my company.
What made the moment even more impactful was the way Shannon Sharpe approached it. There was no shouting or unnecessary drama, only a calm and thoughtful explanation of the situation. He linked each point together one step at a time, and that method made the message land even harder. When someone speaks with a steady and measured tone, it becomes much more difficult to simply brush their words aside. All of a sudden, the conversation was no longer centered on how much Floyd had earned, because everyone already knows the size of his career earnings. Instead, the bigger and more uncomfortable question became how much of that fortune actually remains today.
First of all, his manager ran off with all of his money. He's suing Showtime for giving the manager his money. Over $300 million. This man made over $1 billion in his lifetime, okay? It was reported just a few days ago that he has a tax lien for about $7.3 million, okay? Federal tax liens, okay, filed in 2018 and in 2023. So these are unpaid past taxes, all right? I guess the skating rink and the strip club ain't bringing in money like that. Neither is his boxing career because apparently, his ex-manager took it all. And let's not forget back in 2017, okay, a year before that, he owed about $22.2 million, but his manager, Al Heyman, took care of that at the time.
Once that question enters the conversation, the entire picture begins to change. The exhibition fights no longer appear to be casual side events. Instead, they start feeling carefully scheduled, increasingly necessary, and far more frequent than before. The non-stop travel from Dubai to Japan to Nigeria no longer comes across as a symbol of worldwide dominance. Rather, it starts to resemble someone moving from one destination to another in search of fresh opportunities. Even the selection of opponents fuels even more speculation. When an undefeated boxing legend starts sharing the ring with influencers and lesser-known names, people stop wondering why he accepted those fights and begin asking what those decisions truly represent.
Words were, quote, "It's an exhibition, so we're both winners. We just want to go out there, entertain the people, put on a good show." When he said that, from where I was sitting, he kind of gave away the fact that he really doesn't want to risk the record, right? That kind of gives it away. How do you feel about that? You're a respectful guy, but as a fighter, how do you feel about that position he's taken?
As a fighter, I'm a fighter and I respect everyone. I mean, opinion, I respect everyone's decision. But I hope that, and on that decision, announcement of Floyd Mayweather, he will, what he signed is a real fight, so he should fulfill his commitment.
The way Floyd chose to live was never designed to slow down over time. Instead, it was built to keep growing bigger and bigger. Multiple luxury homes, collections of expensive cars, and constant high-end spending became the foundation of that lifestyle. But what many people fail to realize is that a lifestyle like this is never a one-time cost. It demands money every single day. Property maintenance, taxes, employees, and non-stop travel all continue without taking a break. And once a lifestyle becomes an entire system, it requires a steady flow of money to keep it running. Without that continuous support, everything can gradually begin to break down.
He's running around with one of my guys, Link, from Memphis, and he's doing parties for $26,000, $30,000. So when I see him doing that, I'm like, Floyd doing a party for $25,000, $30,000, something wrong with that. And this was like 6 years ago.
I mean, look, Mayweather broke is not our version of broke, right? Me and you being broke means we're really broke. Mayweather broke means that, okay, he may have to sell off one of his homes. He may have to sell off a few watches.
Well, they saying in New York, the guy that he was getting an apartment from is suing him for that apartment.
That is the point where the overall pattern becomes much more difficult to ignore. There have been reports involving lawsuits, past tax issues resurfacing in conversations, unpaid business agreements, and ventures that have led people to ask questions. Viewed individually, each of these situations can have its own explanation. However, when they are considered together, they begin to paint a much bigger picture. Even fighters such as Amir Khan have publicly questioned Floyd's decisions, suggesting that some of his recent actions could be influenced by financial reasons. And when concerns like these come from someone within the boxing world, they carry greater credibility because they understand both the sport and its business side far better than most people observing from the outside.
Money has he made from boxing? There's a staggering number that he's earned an estimated $1.1 billion in his career from boxing. Like, the idea that Floyd could ever be broke just sounds absolutely ludicrous. Because no matter what habits you have, like, you know, there's people that says, yo, if you give them $5-10 million, they could never spend that money throughout their lifetime. Now, usually the real truth with whatever amount, just name an amount, is, well.
At the same time, the comparison has become almost impossible to ignore. Fighters such as Canelo Alvarez have taken a completely different path, relying on carefully planned fights, long-term investments, and steady, disciplined growth with less flash and a stronger financial structure. The discussion is not really about who possesses more money, but about whose fortune appears to be more secure over time. At this moment, Floyd's wealth does not seem completely stable. Instead, it appears constantly active and always in motion. And in the financial world, when something looks overly active or is continuously changing, it can sometimes be viewed as a potential warning sign.
About Mayweather, I'm telling myself, how are we in this place right now? You should have had good people around you, making good decisions for you, so your money wouldn't look funny at this age. There should be no reason why at this moment of your life you are doing these boxing exhibitions. It's unnecessary, man. Mayweather's one of the best defense fighters. He on his come up, he was knocking people out. Money Mayweather, man, he was that guy. Now I'm hearing that the Netflix thing with Pacquiao and him, it's a lot of things going on. And I'm just telling myself, what is he doing?
Then there's Manny Pacquiao, a fighter who once stood across from Floyd on boxing's biggest stage. Whenever he speaks, people naturally pay attention. And when he was questioned about comebacks and exhibition fights, his response was straightforward: it is for money. There was no drama, no lengthy explanation, only a direct and honest answer. When those words come from someone who has traveled the very same road, they strip away the illusion and leave behind a reality that many boxing fans may still find difficult to accept.
Rumors that you are bankrupt. How do you respond to that? I don't think you have publicly responded.
Well, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I mean, if we call having 2 private jets, owning 100 buildings, being able to do what you want to do, if that's bankrupt, then I'm pretty sure everybody want to live like that.
Huh?
I'm 48 years old, and I've never sued a media outlet. The media outlet throughout my life has bashed me, talked bad about me, spoke bad about my family. Now, I've always been judged because how I have presented myself when I'm promoting a fight.
Then there is the business side of the story, and it presents its own set of questions. Mayweather Promotions once appeared to be a growing powerhouse designed for the future, positioned to remain influential long after Floyd stepped away from professional boxing. Today, however, it seems far quieter and less commanding than it once did. Some fighters have moved on to establish their own brands, while others have gradually created separation without drawing much public attention. In business, silence can often reveal more than official statements. When people begin walking away quietly, it frequently suggests that something behind the scenes is no longer functioning the way it once did. Ultimately, this story goes beyond money. It is about control. Floyd built his entire legacy around control, whether it involved controlling opponents, directing negotiations, or shaping how the public viewed him. But for the first time in many years, it feels as though that control over the narrative may be slipping away, with the story beginning to shape him rather than the other way around. That is where the real shift exists. In boxing, once public perception starts to change, everything else tends to follow. The image is usually the first thing to fade, then influence begins to weaken, and the same person who once dictated every condition finds himself responding instead of leading. The biggest question now is whether Floyd Mayweather can once again redirect the course of the conversation, or if this marks the gradual unraveling of one of the most carefully constructed empires the sports world has ever seen.